short, sharp interview with Nasim Ahmed. He is a political analyst at the London-based Middle East Monitor. And what we're going to try and take a look at very quickly this morning is Israel's future uh, an apartheid in a, pardon, let's start that again. Israel's future is at apartheid in a solution of the three classes. Assalamu alaikum to you, Nasim Ahmed. Welcome to the program.
Walaikum salam, Julie. Thanks for having me.
Did you understand my statement, my opening statement?
I did, yes.
Okay.
I did understand.
All right. So because of time constraints, can we just get to the heart of the matter? We do know that in the past, they spoke about the one-state solution and the two-state solution. I spoke to an analyst, Professor Jeff Halper, last week on my show about the situation in Palestine and Israel. He reckons the only way things can get back to some form of normality is to go for a one-state solution. Your thoughts on the matter?
Well, that's one of the ideas that many people think is the only way forward. And number of activists, academics have said that the only option available now is a one-state solution, a one-state reality. But my article, which you were referring to, is really in response to an opinion piece by a well-known Israeli intellectual, Yuval Noah Hariri. So he's very well known. He's got a book called Sapiens: A Brief History of Mankind. This guy, he gives speeches in Davos to many other well-known global institutions. For him to come now and say, look, Israel's heading towards this cliff edge where we are in a solution of three classes. He doesn't use the word apartheid, but three classes. And I thought this was quite striking for someone as esteemed as him to join in the international call for boycott of Israel because Israel is an apartheid state. I thought it was quite an amazing development, which is why I wrote that piece, going just to argue the case that it's become normalized. The idea that Israel is an apartheid state is normalized as people understand it around the world. Although there's a backlash, we are entering a reality where governments will have to acknowledge this. Human rights groups have acknowledged this. UN has acknowledged this. Number of governments have acknowledged this. All it requires is for Western states to recognize that Israel is an apartheid state. Once that happens, the result would be, in my estimation, some form of one-state solution where all 12.5 or 6 million Jews, Christians, and Palestinians that live within historic Palestine, what is now occupied territory, and Israel proper will live under a one state. So that seems inevitable in my mind. And okay. I agree with Jeff on this.
And we do know they're not going to be living happily ever after. We do know that there are going to be problems, issues going forward till they come to terms with the fact that this is a one-state solution. Let's look at the three classes that you refer to here. How's that going to play out? Where are we now at when we talk about the three classes or the three stages of evolution in this situation?
So the three classes are basically three different groups of people. First, you have, let's say this first. Israel is the only sovereign power within River Jordan to the sea. So Israelis like to say that Palestinians have their own little territory and they can do what they want in the West Bank and Gaza, which is not the case. Israel is the sovereign power in every single inch of historic Palestine. So that's number one. Number two, within that territory, occupied territory, Israel proper, Gaza, there's three classes of people. The first class is the Jewish class. So that's what he says, Jewish class. Then you have Palestinians who are citizens of Israel, class B. They have some rights, but not the same rights as as the Jewish citizen. So there's a hierarchy of citizenship within Israel. Then you have the class 3, which is the Palestinians who are not citizens of Israel, Palestinians in the occupied territory. And I would say the Palestinians in Gaza were even much worse situation. So there's actually 4 classes. So I don't agree with it's just 3 classes, it's actually 4 classes. So that's the reality he's presenting, Yuval Noah Harari. And it's actually worse than what he's presenting. If you read the human rights reports and B'Tselem report, UN report, it's actually much worse than that. So this is the reality. And how do you how do you move on from there? I mean, this article is really about getting Israelis to soul search. Look where we are heading. What we've created in Israel, it goes against every Jewish principle, every Jewish universal ideal. So this is our reality. We need to do something about it. So it's a wake-up call to Israel's Jewish community during Yom Kippur. But to be honest, to be frank, most of the international community who follow this issue closely know that Israel has 4 different classes of people. You have the Jews in Israel, then you have the Palestinians in Israel, then you have the Palestinians in the West Bank, and then you have the Palestinians in Gaza. And there's incremental differences based on ethnicity, privileges and rights granted based on ethnicity. And that's really is the definition of apartheid.
Okay, we have very limited time, but this is an important question. I can't not ask it. How do you see these people living side by side in a one-state solution? Because you've now outlined 4 classes of people. Are they going to be able to live in cohesion or some form of a society?
Well, when I say
without too much of without too much discrimination.
I mean, there's been conflicts throughout history. People are have ways to coexist and live together. If you take the political hatred out of the equation, people find ways to live together. You've had the classic example in South Africa. They've been living in apartheid for many, many, many decades. They find a way to live. They find in parts of Africa, in India, where the Mughal Empire fractured and Hindus and Muslims fought, but they found a way. So it doesn't mean to say in Israel or in Palestine, they will not equally find a way to live together. So it's a myth which a lot of the Israelis would present, if we give up our one state, our country, we will be thrown into the sea. That's just the myth they present. But human beings are resilient. Human beings generally want the best for each other, and they find a way to live together if you take the political hurdles and the divisions out of the way.
We'll have to leave it there, but undoubtedly the Palestinians are a magnanimous people, big-hearted people, because despite the occupation that had been under for so very many years and the hardship that they've been under, they are still saying we can live in peaceful coexistence with the Israelis. They've gone that far to say that, but the Israelis are still in fear of their privileged position in obviously in Palestine. But that's where we leave it. Thank you indeed for being with us on the show this morning. Hopefully next time we'll have more time to talk at length. But thank you indeed.
Thank you,
Assalamu alaikum to you. That was Nasim Ahmed. He's a political analyst at the London-based Middle East Monitor, talking to us about the 4 classes of people in the occupied territories, or rather in Palestine. 3 after 10, we've overrun a bit, but thank you indeed for your patience. I do hope you've enjoyed the show as much as we've enjoyed your company. Till tomorrow at the same time, as always, please follow the COVID-19 protocols and also take care on the roads, because the roads have become very, very busy since we've moved another stage as far as lockdown is concerned. A big thank you to the production team. Until tomorrow, as always, it is Assalamu alaikum and Khuda Hafiz from me, Julie Alli.